Last week of January, I had a post on social media in relation to some of the problems that we come across with clients and customers that we're dealing with around this time of year in terms of their tax situation. And not only just because of the pandemic, but at this time of year, clients, customers who are only getting their stuff finalised maybe around even November, December, and running into January, there's quite a common problem comes up, and that is I don't have enough money to pay my tax. That is also a bit of a symptom as to why certain clients and business owners don't get their books done quickly enough. I think it's almost a bit of a head in the sand situation, a little bit of avoidance and not wanting to know what your accountant is going to tell you about tax that you owe, because you kind of know you're not going to have enough money to pay the tax. This year is slightly different. Obviously, we've had the pandemic, so there's no doubt that is going to have affected people's ability to have extra money set aside for tax. And another difference is that the government have a support initiative because of coronavirus. So if you owe up to 30,000 of self-assessment tax, HMRC will allow you now to spread that over 12 months. And it's really just a safety net, and it's really just because of the pandemic. These are types of conversations we've had year on year with certain clients where they don't have enough money to pay their tax. The question is, why do they not have enough money to pay their tax? And the truth of the matter is that it's usually down to a couple of things. Number one, there's not enough profit being generated in the business. The profit that's generated has to be enough to pay the directors or pay the owners, and pay your corporation tax for a company, or your self-assessment tax if you're a self-employed sole trader. You need to dig a bit deeper then, because why does it not have enough profit is really the next question. Is that down to your turnover and sales just not being at a sufficient level to pay for everything and save for tax? Is that down to not having enough customers? Is it down to giving too many discounts? Is it down to your pricing and your margin just being a bit too tight? Are there overheads that you're paying that maybe could be cut slightly to create a bit more profit? So the initial issue of I don't have money to pay tax, the mindset that a lot of business owners have is that that's a terrible thing, and HMRC are terrible, and it's kind of living below the line in terms of blame, excuse and denial. You really need to refocus yourself in terms of asking questions and asking better questions so that you can get better decisions as to why is this happening. One of the other aspects that causes this, one of the other issues, is poor cash flow management. That could be down to needing to strengthen up your terms and conditions with your clients and customers. It might be down to better payment solutions, and certainly we can help with that at Cloud 360 Accounting with all the various apps that we can add on to Xero to get you paid faster. So these types of things are deeper underlying issues that give rise to the problem of not having enough money to pay your tax. So you need to dig a little bit deeper. One of the solutions to all of this, apart from looking at your cash flow situation and looking at profitability, one of the main things we think helps to solve this problem going forward is annual budgeting. And an annual budgeting process is something that every business and every business owner should be doing. We do it here at Cloud 360 Accounting, and our budget's already set for 2021, and we'll measure and see how we're doing against that budget. And if we're too far away from it, we might have to reassess the budget, or we might have to change the way we're doing certain things. So having a budget keeps you in some kind of direction rather than just kind of jumping into a boat and rowing in any direction at any kind of speed, no matter what the weather. That's the purpose of really getting a budget in place. If you come to us at Cloud 360 Accounting and you are starting a business, we will insist on having an annual budget in place. And that's not because we want to sell a service to someone initially and generate more income for our business. Yes, that's what will happen, but it's such a crucial factor to avoid problems down the line that we believe it's an absolute must for business owners, and that's what we insist on at Cloud 360 Accounting. So to draw a couple of analogies for you on that, if you were deciding to buy a new car and you went to a car dealership, you spotted a couple of cars that you liked, you test drive 2 or 3 of them, you found out all the information on the specs and all the mod cons that the vehicles have, and you pick a car that you like and that you can afford. Imagine you can't actually drive. Imagine you haven't actually learned to drive, or you actually don't know any directions and you haven't a clue where to go if you were to buy that car and drive out of the dealership. That's kind of similar to running your business without a plan and running your business without a budget. And that's why it's so important that you do that. Just one other comparison to draw on this is that we've recently worked with a client in January, helping to draw up a budget for the next 12 months. And when I went through the whole situation with the client was saying, I don't see the need for this. I can kind of tell you that I think I'm going to break even for the next 12 months based on this level of turnover. I don't think I need this service. And I convinced the client that they did need the service, and I knew why they needed the service. Because there's going to be new things happening for the rest of the year that they are not accounting for in their own head. They're doing a calculation on the back of a post-it. They believe that if bringing X amount, and they believe there's a few one-off things that are bound to happen, then this is going to give you a break-even position. The big issue I had with what their assumptions were was, number one, they were just assumptions. Number two, it wasn't down in black and white, so you could actually see the numbers and get visibility on it, which makes it feel more real. But also, they weren't accounting for the fact that they have bounce back loan repayments coming in May or June time. They have deferred VAT from March last year, 2020, which now has to be put onto an 11-month direct debit. And there's a few other debts and finance arrangements in the business that the level of repayment is going to change within the next 3 or 4 months. So the client was convinced that there was a need for it. We produced the annual budget, which was fine and showed that the business could actually be profitable based on what they believed they were going to do. But there wasn't going to be enough profit in the business. And that was the news I had to give to the client. Because we plugged in this budget into float for cash flow forecasting, taking all the figures from zero and taking the budget, we could show the client what way their cash flow was going to go. And around the second half of this year, it starts to go like that. They're into negative cash flow. They're in the situation where there's more money going out than coming in. So I was able to tell them, look, you need to have an extra X amount per month of new customers generating this amount of profit in order to sustain the business. And that's just to sustain the business. Now, it's a one-man band business. It's one salary and some dividends. So it's easy enough to sort of budget for that. There's no major risks in it. But the client actually couldn't see that side of it until we presented the picture. So again, this is something we do at Cloud 360. We can prepare your annual budget. And as an extra step, we can prepare cash flow on an annual basis, or we can check that on a rolling basis. So your forecast and projection is something we would look at on a regular basis to see what has happened since we last spoke and what way does that affect your projections going forward as well. So look, I hope that's been of use to everyone. And if anyone wants to speak to us at Cloud 360 about those types of services, get in touch. We're more than happy to jump on a call, have a chat about your business, and hopefully move things forward in the right direction with a plan.